gotten to officially met, but big fan. Nice to see you, meet you, see your name on the screen. Hi, Juliet. Um, Thank you everyone for joining. Erica, thank you for having us bright and early Pacific time, and thank you so much Beam Suntory for sponsoring this week of reFOHcus. Erica, you're going to talk to us about holistic meals and nutrition and all of that, and I'm so excited to hear all about it. So I'm gonna hand the mic over to you, and I'm gonna turn my video off so that Julep's not distracting everybody.
Oh no, it's fine. I live in a mini zoo myself. We have a Bengal and Alaskan Malamute. So.
You have a Bengal?
Yeah.
I'm so envious. My uncle raises Bengals. I want one.
Oh really? Yeah, he's awesome. He's a rescue. So I'm always excited to see that. But yeah, so what is a healthy meal? I kind of wanted to address this because I think it's so important when it comes to fitness. Your nutrition is like 80% of the puzzle. So I think a lot of people struggle with how to eat healthy and how to make it accessible and how to do it on a consistent basis. So a couple things that I really think are super important are your seasonings, because flavor is, I mean, things like herbs and garlic, black pepper, chili, things like that. Those are all additives that can really enhance the flavor of your food, and they don't add any sort of fats or calories or anything like that. So it can make it really delicious. And then taking a look at what your food, what your meal actually comprises of, and just this reshaping of the idea that you need to have, proteins, veggies, and a carb. It really depends on your lifestyle, your activity that day. You don't have to have carbs at every meal, and you can actually get really good nutrients on protein and veggies alone. And find some good alternatives. Now, that's not to say to steer away from carbs, because you definitely need them. I'm a big fan. I love my carbs. So I'd be the last one to tell you not to eat carbs. And that being said, I'd also be the last person to tell you to do any sort of diet. So I'll never subscribe to anything like keto or paleo or anything in particular. I think having a balanced lifestyle is probably the most sustainable way to keep yourself healthy. Now, the fat balls are keto and paleo, but that's just kind of by happenstance. It's not really by design. Every ingredient in that the dessert recipe is wholesome and nutritious, and is a little bit of a nice indulgence so that you can have throughout your day. And fats are really important. So before we run out of time, because I've talked too much, let's start cooking. I've got everything kind of set up, which is another I guess tip that's helpful for me when I start cooking, is to just kind of have everything out so you're not scrambling around. Honestly, it never looks this pretty. This is just for you guys. But just kind of pre-prepping everything to begin with, and then you just don't have to kind of last minute remember that you have to chop the garlic or something like that. So tequila lime tacos. The unhealthy part is a little bit of the tequila, but you know what? It's going to enhance the flavor, and it's delicious, so I think it's worthwhile. So the first thing I would normally do is just get the fire started up, and we're going to do your protein first, because everything else can come afterwards, and while we're cooking, we can do the protein later. So extra virgin olive oil, really good healthy fat. What you put in as your base matters. Olive oil is calorie dense, yes. It's also a really good healthy fat, and much better than using anything like canola oil. You can use coconut oil as well. It's kind of your preference. Coconut oil is, you either love it or you don't. So your choice there. And guys, feel free to unmute yourself if you can, or type in the chat box, because I want you guys to ask the questions and say that.
Erica, I have a question about oils.
Yeah.
So I remember a chef friend of mine saying a while ago that like olive oil has a lower burning point than like canola oil, and that oftentimes, like if you're cooking at a higher heat, it's like not as ideal to use olive oil because you'll burn it, and then I don't remember. I feel like I'm remembering him saying that then you like lose some of the nutrients, but I might be remembering that wrong. Do you know anything
I'm
about
not
that?
too sure about the nutrients. I would probably say that's correct. Definitely is correct that olive oil is a lower smoke point. So what you want to use if you want to do something like get a nice crispy layer on something, I would recommend avocado oil. It's got a higher smoke point, and you're going to get good nutrients from your avocado oil as well. It doesn't have as much flavor as olive oil.
Gotcha.
Now, if you're talking to a chef, they're going to want to work with other oils because they just give a better finish. Like if you're frying a piece
Like
of
always
salmon.
wanted to cook with canola oil.
Yeah, and I understand it because it does give you better results. If you're trying to keep healthy, you can sacrifice a little bit of the results. Honestly, the avocado oil I found has done a really good job as a replacement. So, and coconut oil is a little bit higher. I think it's somewhere in between olive oil and avocado.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. So yeah, we're gonna heat up the oil a little. It's looking pretty good at the moment, and I've just got some diced onions. Did that ahead of time, and just pop them in. I'm actually gonna save a little for the top of the tacos later because I like them. That's totally up to you. So as you put them in, just kind of move them around. I know that you can't see the top of what I'm doing, but I'll show as much as I can. So you want to saute the onions, and what we want to do is have them sweat. So you'll start to see them get a little translucent. You can keep the fire down on medium to begin with. I have some chopped garlic here, and same thing with this. I love garlic, so I'm going to save it a little bit for the sauce, which we're going to make in a second. And just kind of move those around. You don't want to burn the garlic. That's one thing that just kind of really enhances the flavor of the garlic and ends up being a little too strong. So keep an eye on both the onions and the garlic. I'm using turkey meat today. I know some people are vegan, so you can use a lot of different options. Yes, impossible. I had a feeling you would be ready and prepped. Yeah, so that's a great option. One thing I would say about the meat, even if you're doing impossible or anything like that, try and season it ahead of time. So here's a couple of things I used. Cracked pepper, garlic powder, sea salt, really good stuff. A little bit of cayenne pepper because I like the spice. And then I know I didn't put this on the list, but if you guys have Trader Joe's where you are, I'm not sure if you do, but this chili lime seasoning is amazing. It's a really nice zesty but also spicy blend. So I just kind of season that ahead of time, marinate it in, and good to go. Now another thing that I've learned along the way is don't dump all your meat in at once. It's nice to kind of break it up into smaller pieces so that it cooks evenly and it cooks a little bit quicker as well. So I used to be one of those super fast cookers, and all I really cared about was the results. So now I start to like kind of take my time. I've definitely noticed a big difference. Just kind of pulling it apart a little bit is fine. And then anytime you're working with meat, really make sure you wash your hands before you go to the veggies. So just kind of moving the meat around. And you want to get a nice brown on the whole piece of each part of the meat. So just breaking it down into smaller bits and kind of keeping it moving constantly so you don't burn one side. And you're still on that medium heat. You could probably turn it up a little now. So mine goes up to 6 and I'm on about 4.5, 5. you can see here it's still really pink. So we're still just kind of moving through, and those onions and that flavor is settling in nicely on the meat. So while that's simmering, I'm going to grab a lid. This is the right size. Nope. Like playing Jenga here, which lid fits? All right.
Erica, can I also ask a quick question? I'm Tracy Franklin. I've heard that there's actually oils that are dangerous, like that get into your body and then they transform and actually can create carcinogens or things like that.
Did you hear which kind?
I don't know. They're supposed to like corn oil. There's supposedly like 5 oils that you're not supposed to use. It's just one of those things that I was just wondering if you'd heard of it. I'll try and look it up though.
I haven't heard of them being dangerous. I mean, I know that canola oil.
Canola for sure, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why I'm blanking on the other one that I know is bad, but they're just not good whole fats. So just as a rule, what I would stick to is coconut. Sesame seed is fine, but that's usually more of a seasoning oil, like kind of as a topper.
Yeah.
And
well, I'm allergic to sesame anyway, so that's not coming.
Okay, well that's out.
All right, so it says vegetable oil, canola oil, sunflower oil are the worst.
Yeah, so that's it. Sunflower is what I was looking for. I would obviously stay away from those. And just like when we were talking with Alex, some chefs love to use them because you get better kind of results with the burn. It's more even, things like that. They have a little more control. But when you're thinking about your health, it's really important to be putting in good fats. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. Obviously, California girl, got my avocados. So that's really important for the body. I think we've had such a diet culture for so long to steer away from fat, and then it went kind of top heavy and steered all the way to fat with the keto diet. And what I always am such a proponent of is just balance. So keeping a good balance. They say for your meal intake, a thumb's worth of fat is what you're looking for, and about a palm's worth of your protein, and your whole hand's worth of veggies or greens.
Thank you.
Yeah. So now we're getting kind of brown. We've got a little bit of pink still. Obviously, if you're using soybeans or anything like that, you might have a little bit of a different timing. But you might have a little bit of juice at the bottom of the pan. That's what we're looking for. So now we're going to grab our El Tesoro. Thank you so much, Bean Suntory. And we're going to just take about a shot's worth. It's up to you. Never really been much of a measurement girl, so whatever feels right for you. Maybe a little more because this stuff is delicious.
Erika, we talked about your bartending career and measuring things.
What'd you say?
I said we chatted briefly about your bartending career and measuring things.
You're like, I hope that doesn't transfer to her cooking skills. See, the good part about a Zoom class is that you guys don't have to be subject to the end result and eat it. Okay. So now that you've got the tequila in there, I would just cover it up and let it simmer. Let it do its thing. You can turn it down a little bit. And while that's cooking, feel free to jump in with questions. I'm going to turn to our sauce. Wow, time flies. I'm going to try and speed through this a little bit. I know you guys have precious time, or maybe not. Maybe you're just chilling today. I don't know. So, starting for our tequila lime dressing, about a half a cup. Again, not a big measure. So I've just got Greek yogurt. I know this light is really crazy. How's that? You can see Greek yogurt. All right. I kept a little bit of the garlic. I'm going to throw that in there. I love fresh garlic. I don't know how my boyfriend feels about it when I kiss him, but he's going to deal. We've got a little bit of chili flakes. I'm gonna throw that in there too. And lime. I love these things. They're a lifesaver. You just put your citrus in here and it saves you so much time. I'm sure if you're a bartender, you probably have one of these at home. So squeezing all the juice in. Give it a little shake. Now it says a whole lime. I would use your judgment here. Some limes are a little juicier than others, so you don't want to have too much of a runny consistency. You just kind of stir that in. And if you have a little bit left over of your tequila, a little tiny dash. And then moving over to the cilantro, I have mine and I always store them in a glass with water. This keeps them way longer than normal. And as you can see, all of these ends are chopped off. So when I'm in a hurry, I'll literally take this whole thing out and just cut with a knife, and you can use the stems. I use the stems all the way to the very end. Another option here, I've got my fresh cilantro and scissors. I'm, not specific about how the herbs are going to be because they're just so flavorful. So you can just kind of chop them in, and big and chunky is nice. This is for the dressing, so allowing that flavor to just kind of open up inside the dressing. So that's pretty simple. Nice little dressing for the top of the tacos. I'm going to take a quick look here, see how the meat's going. Wow, this smells delicious. So everything's pretty well cooked now. We've got a really nice sauce at the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and turn it all the way down to low. And just move that off to the side. And the good thing about having prepped ahead of time is that you're pretty much good to go. The only thing I would suggest is heating up your tortillas. So I have these, again, from Trader Joe's. I'm not sure if you guys have one around you, but there's always options, even at your regular grocery store. You can get things that are not corn. Corn is not terrible, but it just doesn't process very well in the body. And obviously everyone's different, but I try and stay away from corn. Tortilla chips are delicious, so you're gonna have what you're gonna have. But if you can, this is also a really nice alternative because it's not a carb, it's jicama. So the jicama has, I think, 3 grams total carbs. I don't count carbs, but just, if you wanted as a reference, your grams of carbs in a regular tortilla are closer to, I think, about 10. So you can put this over an open flame. And I grabbed 2 because they're pretty thin. And just take a little bit of time to let them kind of warm up. And a slight browning is kind of nice too. So just a couple seconds on each side. And if you don't have an open flame to work with, if you're working with electric, you can put them in the oven and just kind of heat them up that way. So, a couple more seconds. Now, a word of warning for the jicama tortillas, they're not going to taste like normal tortillas, so don't expect that. They are going to taste like jicama. But it's a really nice, refreshing kind of substitute to what you're used to, and it's great for summer. So. All right, so we're pretty much good to go. We've got our meat ready, so just kind of spooning it out. You guys have definitely done this before, I'm sure. I like to keep a little bit of the juice and put that on the taco as well. I've got the saved onions from earlier. A little bit of chopped tomatoes. And it's nice to have this all kind of diced and ready ahead of time. Romaine lettuce. This is just kind of sliced nice and easy. I know there was a bit of a scare about romaine, so I ventured into dangerous territory and got romaine again. But it is a lot more nutrient dense than like your regular callus lettuce or something like that. So, all right, and then you've got your sauce. So a little bit of a stir. That flavor should have really opened up by now, and you can just kind of drizzle that on top. Oh, and I forgot avocados. They're obviously going to make any meal better. So just kind of add your avocados on. And you have a taco. We have a taco. Let's eat. Well, I'm not going to eat just yet because it is 9 a.m. But yeah, those are really simple tacos to make. Any questions? Anyone want to dive in?
That looks so good. I'm so hungry now.
Good. I'm glad. I would Postmates it to you if I could. But yeah, it's a great alternative because you have a majority of your meal is protein. You've got a lot of flavor going on, so you're going to find yourself a little more satiated than if you were to do something, a little more bland. You're not necessarily adding a lot of carbs here because the jicama, whatever alternative you use, is really very healthy. Everything here is really clean, and you're using fresh ingredients. So all of that is good stuff. Let's not forget about dessert. So I made some earlier. These are the rumbles that I listed on the stories, or that you guys listed on the stories, and they came out great. So the recipe, I know you guys can't really see, but the recipe is super easy to follow. The one thing I would say is it's just easier if you combine your dry ingredients first and then your wet. If you're using a blender, I just use a regular Vitamix. So throw the nuts and the coconut in first and chop all that. And then you can throw the other ingredients in and they kind of blend together and don't get stuck at the bottom of the blender. I know from personal experience. I had to pull some out, put some back in, pull some out, put some back in. But these are a great snack option. They're nice and sweet. I did substitute, and the great thing about this recipe is you can substitute a lot. So if you want to change out and not use peanut butter, you can use almond butter. You can change out the oil that you use. Coconut oil has a good consistency to kind of stick everything together, so that's why I like that. And you can take, so for example, breaking things in here. The cacao nibs were out of stock, so I got 100% cocoa, and this is just black chocolate, and it has cacao nibs in it, and that was a delicious alternative. So this recipe, and same with the tacos, is really customizable. It's not going to fall apart if you switch out like 3 or 4 ingredients, and that's what I love about cooking that way because everyone has different tastes. So just keeping that balance of, what your meal consists of. And I guess the last thing I would say about the paleo fat balls is just what I said at the beginning. I'm not ever going to be a person to subscribe to a certain diet model. So with these balls, yes, they are fat balls and they're going to have a lot of fat and be a little more calorie dense. So just keep that in mind. If you're going throughout your day and you've already had a fair amount of fat in your diet, maybe just one of these is good for you. If you haven't had fat yet, then go for 3. So it's all about keeping balance.
Awesome.
Yeah. How'd you guys go? Who else cooked with me? Lauren is getting down. Good stuff. Nice. Do you guys have a Trader Joe's close by, or is that just a West Coast thing?
I do.
Honestly, so good. This side. It's great on fruit, and it's what I used in the meat. It's really, really good. The jicama wraps are there too. Almost everything you can get there. If you're not a dairy person, I'm not usually a dairy person, just doesn't agree with me. I love it, but it just doesn't work with me. But Greek yogurt, you can find good alternatives in coconut yogurt. Just make sure it's not flavored. The vanilla tends to be really sweet. So, that's one word of warning.
I
Yeah.
love the tequila. The Tesoro is one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's great.
They always say not to cook with anything that you wouldn't drink. So I think I'll be adding a shot of Tesoro to my next.
Awesome. Yeah, the flavor is really, really nice with the lime, obviously. And then when you guys, this poor Cruzan rum is hidden here, but this was delicious in the fat balls because it has a really nice kind of maple, and that was complimentary because there is maple syrup in there. And just went really well with the coconut as well. So the Cruzan rum was a real winner as well. But you know, tequila and tacos is obviously the best pairing in the world, so can't go wrong.
So Erika, this, just so you all know, this is torture because I'm trying to do this stupid intermittent fasting.
Oh,
So I
good.
can't even eat for another hour and a half, and I'm just like, but what do you think about that?
I'm with you.
Intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
How's that going for you? What do you think about it?
I honestly, because I'm a trainer and most of my clients are in the morning or were back in the other world we lived in, it would kind of happen by default. And I've, as I started to learn my body a little more about 4 years ago, I, just kind of noticed I didn't like working out after I ate. So I like to work out on an empty stomach, and I'm a morning person. So I do about 10 hours of an eating window, 14 hours off. And that just kind of happened by default. And I just kind of kept with it. Honestly, and this, when it comes to eating, it's really about habits and why we eat. We're all susceptible to it. We're eating because we're stressed, or we're bored, or we need another trip around the house to get away from the computer. And I have a program that is based just on habits. But the habit of why we eat and all of those things is I find very helpful to kind of work within the intermittent fasting schedule, because, for example, if I start eating at 11, I finish at 7. It's been a massive change for me in how I feel when I wake up, because I'm no longer eating later at night, and I honestly feel so much better just digestion wise. And another little thing that I do in the morning, which it really helps me, is a glass of hot water with lemon. Gets your digestive fires kind of going, and you guys can fill in the blanks. I think it's just really important. Once you narrow down that eating window, it helps so much more. And you really have less to think about, because throughout the day, you're like, hey, this is my eating window. It's not like I have to count calories. I don't have to stick to, a certain meal plan. And you just kind of pull in that window. I just, I like it.
Yeah, so far so good.
How long have you been doing that?
I guess it's about 3 weeks now.
Awesome.
Maybe, yeah.
Where would you say the trouble points are?
It's now. So basically it's that my husband always gets up at like noon and goes and makes his smoothie and gets his stuff, and I'm always like, I only have 2 more hours. But I'm doing 2 to 9, 2 to 10. Yeah. Okay. So 8 hours, 16, I think, off.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, the mornings are usually more difficult because that's, you wake up, and I've found substituting, because I was also a big coffee drinker, but substituting something else as a part of your ritual where you would normally, say, have coffee or eat in the morning, substituting a different thing that you do consistently every morning, and that just starts to become your norm. You start thinking about it being the food thing that you normally used to do.
I'm still having coffee. Is that bad?
Oh, no, that's
okay.
fine.
Okay, yeah. So I still have coffee or like black tea, green teas, like just no sugars or things like that, I guess. Yeah.
That, for me, if it works for you, maybe putting a little bit of fat in the coffee, because
coconut oil.
Yeah, because it can help your stomach, because you have nothing in it.
Yeah.
So it's your caffeine is going straight to your bloodstream. And that's kind of why I dialed back on mine, because I was finding that I was just
I can feel it for sure.
Yeah.
That's actually a good insight. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah. Anyone else? Any other questions? Throw them at me. I'm good for another like 7 minutes if anyone has them.
I don't know, but I was really hungry, so it's all gone now.
You're like, I'm busy eating.
Awesome.
Good for you. Is that the first time you've used the Beyond Meat? No, you've used that before for tacos.
I've used it before for tacos. Yeah, I like the combination of garlic, onion. I don't usually. It's funny because I don't usually put anything in the meat. I just season it. But
Yeah.
I mean, I'm tasting it out. I'm like, yeah, this is great.
Good stuff. Do you prefer the Impossible or the Beyond Meat? Have you tried those?
I prefer Impossible, but what I've also done is taken tofu and pressed it, and then crumbled it up and seasoned it with like cumin, oregano, salt, pepper, soy sauce, and then put it in the oven at 450 for 25 minutes, and it gets like crispy like ground beef. So if I don't want,
that's awesome. Good.
Yeah. If I don't want the meat replacement, then I'll just do tofu.
Yeah, and good insight too on the spices. Just back to what I was saying before, using spices as your best friend. Honestly, I use a good amount of sea salt. I think that's a healthier salt than your regular iodized salt. Turmeric is one of my best friends. Curry powder. I'll do curry powder on chickpeas. That's also a really nice alternative. But the stronger your spices and herbs, the more flavor you're going to get and actually feel more satiated. So, yes, Beyond Impossible Meat, all vegan. Yeah, so these are definitely vegan adaptable. I use turkey, but I kind of alternate between meat substitutes. Cool. Anything else?
Cool. Well, thank you everyone for joining. And we hope to see you on Friday for a yin class. I'm so excited. And I realized today that I work during the day, so I'm gonna have yin and then just float right into work. I'm so excited. So we hope you see y'all there. LP, anything else to add? Oh, just if y'all didn't know, actually, we part of the sponsorship with Beam is that we've raised some funds to donate to a nonprofit, which Erika got to choose. So we posted about that on our Instagram today. If y'all want to take a peek about that, we're doing that every week. So we did it last week, and then we'll be doing it the next 2 weeks as well. So thank you everyone for joining, and we'll see you on Friday.
Thank you,
Thanks, guys.
This is great.
See ya.